Good afternoon, everyone. 4 o'clock straight up on the East Coast. It is indeed a Wednesday edition of Middays with Q. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones, on this Woosah Wednesday edition on the 9th of July, 2025, as we love to take you right up to 6 o'clock straight up right here on Triax57, Triax57.com. And as always, get social with me. Pretty easy to do at Triax57 on Facebook, IG, and X, and log on to Triax57.com. Rich, you can follow me, Rich Q on Q. I'm gonna forget exactly what my social media is already on a Woosah Wednesday at Rich Q on X and on IG, and then TikTok at Rich Q on the mic. As we like to say, the dog days of summer, a busy, busy show. And as you know, if you are chiming in for the first time, now there was drama yesterday, 93 degrees. There was drama yesterday. If you've tuned in, you know about Wednesdays. It's a Woosah Wednesday. And on a Woosah Wednesday, typically we play the handicapping game. How long will it take before the listeners pretty much get under my skin? Sometimes it can be 50 minutes, 20 minutes, 7 minutes. We're not trying to break the Guinness Book of World Records here, but since it's a Woosah Wednesday and after the controversy yesterday, I know for a fact I'm setting myself up today, and that's okay. I have absolutely no problem doing that because what transpired yesterday, because now we've cleaned it up. So you guys know the attire, but yesterday was a 93-degree day. So I'm running around. I got Kiki. We're going out. We're working up a sweat. We got to prep. I'm doing stuff. I'm, doing WABA games, working with mi hermano, trabajo con mi hermano Angel, and we're trying to get some content out. We're all over the place, making calls, doing sales, trying to keep the good folks at Triax57 happy because that's what we're trying to do. So yeah, it was 93 degrees. So I decided, you know what? Can't do it today. Casa de Quinones can't do it in the studios of Middays with Q. I couldn't do it. So I figured today, for a little revenge, we're going, Johnny Cash, a little the man in black, and we'll see how long it takes before I get annoyed. Busy show, Costco in about 15 on college football. A lot of stuff going on. We're going to break down the Big Ten. We've got Jonathan Marshall, NBA 5 o'clock. Baseball to start things off. By the way, horrible loss last night by the Philadelphia Phillies. Are you serious? Just a horrible, horrible, horrible loss by the Fightins last night losing on a walk-off inside the park. I mean, a walk-off inside the park. Are you kidding me? A walk-off inside the park homer last night for the San Francisco Giants, and they edged the Phillies 4-3. That's a bad loss. That really is. That's a blown lead late, a bad loss. And again, the starters did not do what they're supposed to do. Walker did not pitch well. I get it, 4 2/3. He struck out a couple. He gave up the run. But again, it's momentum. It's setting the stage. It's when you got guys on. And, Banks came in. Lazar came in. I think Robert was in there as well. And then they go to Romano. And it did not fare well. And I know that the manager's being criticized today. That's a very bad loss for the Philadelphia Phillies last night. And those are the types that can kind of linger a little bit. Now, right now, top of the second, they are scoreless, Giants and the Phils. So we'll get into some baseball today. We will typically open it up like we do in a couple moments. And I'm hoping, I mentioned Jonathan in the 5 o'clock hour. We might have to move that. Not sure tomorrow. We also might be traveling as well to cover some boxing, but then back in the saddle on Monday. So we'll let you know before we get out of here at 5 o'clock. But as I mentioned, we will get into your comments. Costco in about 15 or so we can work in a little more of a longer extended segment with Nick talking about the Big Ten, Deion Sanders' comments. He didn't really speak too much regarding his personal health, nor should he. I mean, listen, it's just, I think if you listen to him a little bit, it kind of left more mystery, questions than answers. He didn't say much, but he doesn't have to. Didn't name a starter as well. Big Ten is going to be a very compelling conference this year in college football. It is. It really is, because a lot of people think this could be potentially Penn State's year to actually make some noise and make a run. Obviously, you got Ohio State and their pedigree. Oregon, we talked a little bit about them. Michigan is Michigan. But again, That's a team that lost a little bit of the shine, so to speak. And then Indiana, I thought, was a surprise. And I think they were one of the biggest surprises last season as well. They won 11 games and earned a trip to the playoffs. So they really exceeded some expectations. 2025 is not going to be easy. So some college football as well. And we'll continue with the NFL conversation. There is still, it's what? July 9th. July 9th. Trade deadline in baseball is right around the corner. But you start to see we are starting to, creep into, all right, now it's time to focus on football. Now it's time to focus on football because we're going to have training camp right around the corner. Get rid of the preseason, boom, 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 or bust with that. And then basically it's the regular season. I saw my guy Eli Manning was trying to get steak in the Giants and basically said, hey, man, it's too expensive for me. 1% stake of something valued at $10 billion, it turns into a very big number. Hey, listen, that's where the NFL franchises are. They are extremely expensive and they are worth a substantial amount of money. By the way, so multiple sources, right? Multiple sources. The NFLPA, NFL agreed to keep collusion finding secrets. So for those that just absolutely love to dive into the conspiracy theory, I give you that. I give you that on a Woosah Wednesday. The NFL, senior leaders of the NFLPA pretty much stuck a very unique, unusual confidentiality agreement that hid the details of an arbitration agreement from players, including a finding that league executives had urged team owners to reduce player compensation. Multiple sources are telling the mothership. So do with that as you must, as you may, as we say, right? So I'm telling you this, man. I'm telling you this. When you think about it, and ultimately when you peel back the curtain, the NFL is such a powerful organization. It's such a powerful league that whether you believe there's collusion or not, the NFL doesn't lose. The NFL never loses. They just don't. They're too strong. They're too powerful. They've got attorneys who have attorneys who have attorneys who have attorneys. It's just, as much as we want to sit there and say that, Commish protecting the seal was in cahoots with the owners, and let's cut back on some of these guaranteed salaries and these guaranteed monies. It does not matter. There's not going to be any type of punishment handed down. There's not going to be any type of, even like settlement. It's not happening. It's not. And we can just kind of dance around this block all we want. Whether they colluded or not, whether they got caught encouraging collusion or not, it does not matter. Yes, on the surface it matters, but in the whole scheme of things, because they're such a monster and a behemoth, it doesn't matter. And there's not much anyone can do about it. Period. Man chimes in with a woosah already, 8 minutes in. De facto chimes in, glad you classed it up today, Q. That's what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying, right? Because I know, in your eyes, it's got to be the perception, right? I have to match this certain, not even facade, but persona. So here we go. I can test a Woosah Wednesday theory. Eli Manning, Terry Bradshaw, by far the most overrated quarterbacks of all time. It's an asinine series. That's a jackass comment by Madman. That really is. And on a Woosah Wednesday at 9 minutes past the 4 o'clock hour, that's how you're starting the show off. That's how you're starting the show off, with that kind of nonsense, talking about Terry Bradshaw, who was a playoff quarterback, won Super Bowls, and an Eli clutch quarterback. You're trying to test a Woosah Wednesday theory. I got news for you, man. Take it somewhere else. It's not happening. It's not happening. You can test it all you want. You can listen. You can try to get me to bite. Not happening. I won't do it. I mentioned one time, I said to older NFL fans that Terry Bradshaw was overrated. And the look of disgust that was basically dripping off their faces, it's the last time I said that. The last time I said that. It'll be the last time I say that. Yeah. No. Bradshaw's not overrated. Either is Eli Manning. I'll tell you, it's probably overrated. I mean, when you think about it, Steve Young at times. Seriously, Steve Young, a little bit of a scrambler. Never won the big game. Finally, had to stack up and win the big game. Maybe a tad, a little overrated, Steve Young. There's nothing that holds water. There's nothing that holds water on this Wednesday. None. This is not My Cousin Vinny. This is not the scene with the tire tracks and Lisa Marie Vito. If it holds water, does your argument hold water? Do we have a case? No, it does not hold water. Your comment, your theory is just absolutely, it's just not even tilted. Not even. It's 411. Nah, it's a moot point. We move on. You tried it. You failed. We move on. Let's go to actually, how about this? We got some good commentary right now. We got Scott chiming in early and often, and we like that. Why doesn't anyone care about conspiracy theories in the NFL? Just enjoy the game. Act your wage, you. Act your wage or act your age. You are not allowed to know what they know, etc., etc. Because there's a lot at stake with these games, especially from a betting standpoint and a gambling standpoint. And I think we want to know, no matter what, about the conspiracy theory, because that's where we want to hang our hat on. Because as fans, if we believe the NFL did X, Y, and Z, then ultimately we look at it and we say, well, hold on a second. Maybe the league is doing, C, D, and E, if that makes sense. We've seen it before. That's how conspiracy theories typically work, do they not? We look on something on face value, we take a step back, and we say, okay, if it happens like this, maybe it could potentially happen like that. So it goes back to, when you talk about colluding, it's a nasty word. You guys want to stick, not you, but as a whole, you want to stick the word collusion, colluding in with, say, blackball. Right? And if you're blackballing someone, you're basically saying, we're not going to give you a chance in hell to succeed. I'm not even going to give you an opportunity. So then you take it a step further. Well, if the NFL is doing this, if they're doing that, and if they're encouraging this, what other power do they have? Now you get the really warped conspiracy theorists sit there and say, well, wait a second. Does the NFL really have a hand in the outcome of these games? Does the NFL really have a hand? Is it scripted? Is there a reason these games play out exactly like that? How come the betting public, the sharps, the odds makers, the bookmakers nail these lines to a T? To a T. There has to be something more to it. That's what the conspiracy theorists, and I'm a big one when it comes to conspiracies. I'm a big conspiracy theorist. I mean, mine will just kind of blow your mind. But with sports in the NFL, that's why, to your point, Scott, when somebody says, well, why can't we just kind of mind our own business? Why does anyone care? Because it's like anything in life. Like, you're working a job and you think maybe, the person next to you in the cubicle, or your manager, your supervisor, has it out for you, right? Just, they don't like the way you look. They don't like the way you sound. Maybe you don't dress up when you should. I don't know. Something. So now you're thinking to yourself, what is it that I'm doing? Why is this person out to get me? And then now you become conspiracy theorists. Well, they don't like the way I look. They don't like the way I sound. They know I'm more successful. They know I can do their job. Oh man, if they're not allowing me to do X and Y, I wonder what they're doing to my buddy in the next cubicle, or my old boss down the corner, or so-and-so over in the other office. If they're doing that to me, what are they doing to these guys? Then you start to your mind starts to wonder. And that's when we really get wrapped up in everything. And to your point with the NFL, listen, I know we just want to watch the games, right? We want to watch the games. This is what we want to do. We want to sit back. We want to sit tight. We want to enjoy the games, have a couple pops, maybe lay some money, some shekel, some coin on the games, go out and just enjoy them. But no matter what, we're always talking about what on a Monday. we're talking about that non-call, that pass interference call, that holding call, that BS roughing the passer call. So then we start to dive into the what? Conspiracy theory. It's scripted. It's rigged. Here we go. Everyone's in cahoots. So it all starts, even though it's a long-winded kind of response to your comment, which I thought was a good one. It starts with these little, tidbits, the collusion. Well, they're so powerful. Who knows? Maybe their whole league is rigged. Maybe last year was just Eagles' time. It's just goofiness. I get it. I don't subscribe to it. I don't often buy into it in that regard because I don't believe that the NFL is fixed. I don't believe the NFL is fixed. I think what happens is we get so, what's the word I'm looking for? I think as a whole, we sit there and say, well, it's got to be fixed because, why am I losing my bets all the time? Well, maybe you're just not good at betting, right? I mean, that's, or how come my team never gets a break? Well, guess what? If you go over the last 20, 30 years, chances are your team probably got a call or two in their favor. So we'll continue this conversation. 16 past 4 o'clock hour on a Woosah Wednesday. Madman did not get me to crack 7 minutes into the show. Costco is going to come up on the other side. We're going to talk a little college football, Big Ten with him, get his thoughts on the upcoming season and the conference as well. Keep it locked in. Just cranking up on a Woosah Wednesday edition, Middays with Q, right here on Triax57.
Blast up the drinks pouring. Take a risk like it's a short thing. Going in, yeah, I'm going all in. Getting too loud, yeah, you can bring a friend. Dive right in, let's go. Move forward and dip in the flow. Let the rhythm take control. It's going down tonight, yeah. Dive right in, let's go. Move forward and dip in the flow. Let the rhythm take control. It's going down tonight, yeah. Dive right in.
This is what the Down Beach Seafood Fest is all about. It's about community, it's about friends, it's about culture, right? The food culture in Atlantic County is rich.
Hidden in an abandoned campground in South Jersey lies a mystical encounter with booze and spirits, where bonfires burn, shadows dance, and flavor favors the bold. Ghosts, ghouls, goblins, grown-ups, it's time to reclaim Halloween. This is Witchcraft, October 10th and 11th. For tickets and information, visit witchcraftnj.com. Hidden in an abandoned campground in South Jersey lies a mystical encounter with booze and spirits, where bonfires burn, shadows dance, and flavor favors the bold. Ghosts, ghouls, goblins, grown-ups, it's time to reclaim Halloween. This is Witchcraft, October 10th and 11th. For tickets and information, visit witchcraftnj.com.
On July, Witchcraft gets 2 pops. I hear, I know some people commented in that they don't really like that commercial. It's a wonderful commercial. I love the way it's produced, but I guess the problem is that some people do not like Halloween. So, that commercial for some reason bothers them. I don't know. I mean, Costco do you have a fear of Halloween? Is there an issue with Halloween? People getting dressed up, running around in costumes and clowns and left and right. I mean, you're okay with that? As you keep blinking away from me. There you go, pal. There you go. All right, go ahead.
I was going to say, I can't even see myself on here.
You don't even have to worry about it. Don't worry about it. You just keep talking. You're looking good as always.
Oh, okay. I mean, I figure you would need me on stage here. It says I'm offline here, but I do
You're
like
straight.
Halloween
You're
for
straight.
the most part. But I don't think I can't remember the last time I actually dressed up though. I can tell you that. It's
Yeah,
been a
I mean,
while.
is there a cutoff for that, by the way?
I guess it depends on what you're doing. I mean, I don't know. I guess when my son's is going to be born after Halloween, so I'm gonna have to wait until I guess the following year before we do like the whole family thing when we dress up. You know what I mean? So, to me, there's no I guess there's no official cutoff because it kind of just comes back. There's a bit of a hiatus, I would say. I think that's what you're looking at.
Yeah, even as a kid, man, I just you go around the block 3 or 4 times and you still get screwed. It doesn't matter. I mean, back in the day, you're getting staplers, you're getting number 2 pencils. Who the hell needs that for? I mean, that's what are we doing here? Or you're getting, I mean, think about this. Or you're getting really I mean, I'm not trying to be dismissive or discriminatory against, certain candies, but I mean, what are we doing here? A Mounds bar?
I can't even. I can't eat that. I don't know what you're
That's
talking
what I'm saying.
about.
A Clark bar,
I'm
right?
I'm a I'm a big, Three Musketeers guy and a Reese's guy, so that's where my loyalties lie. I would
Well, we know also your loyalty lies with Rutgers and also Colorado. And Dion didn't say too much, didn't show the hand. We know he's not going to name a quarterback. I know he's asked about his health as well today. But he also said a
He
couple.
definitely didn't answer anything about his health. He gave a little,
Yeah,
snub to the athletic. That
exactly.
was pretty funny at Big 12 Media Days today.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I know we'll talk more about that, when we continue to kind of break down these conferences, and rightfully so. He really doesn't have to give any type of uh, update at
No,
the
if
end of
he
the day.
if he's there and he's ready to coach football, then if he could share what he wants to share. We know he's battled some very unique health issues, I would say, over the past couple of years. Obviously, a couple toes amputated, so certainly something that came out of left field, due to his blood clots. But I mean, if he's going to be out there coaching football, walking around, who really cares?
Right now,
As a Colorado booster, not officially, but of course, I'm ready to watch the
yeah.
Buffaloes again this year.
Well, what he did say was interesting, talking about the NIL spending, right? Decides he's making the college football playoff. And listen, he's never really short of any type of opinion. He basically said, "Look, I wish it was capped." We know that the NIL is changing the game. We know the transfer portal is changing the game. We're seeing it, right? You get 5-star recruits, they're committing, then they're transferring. I mean, the money thing is a big issue at the end of the day. It really is. I mean, how do you like if I'm a freshman, if I'm a sophomore, if I'm on a stacked team and they're getting 5, 10, 15 million to a
Mhm.
freshman class, I mean, that class is going to be stacked.
Yeah, without a doubt, and usually this money's not really going to these freshmen that are coming straight out of high school. They're going to the guys that are transferring in, and that's where we're still in that big gray area where the revenue sharing is coming down this year. So I think it's 20-25 million, wherever the case may be. Most of these schools they're going to allocate most of those funds to football, and then the rest are going to go to basketball, and then whatever's left over from that pie, you look at what, let's just say 75% to football, 20% to basketball, and we've talked about this before. 5% to the Olympic sports. It depends on how much money you want to shell out. And that's just the revenue sharing money, but there's still no exact cap on how much these boosters and these donors can provide in additional NIL money to all these kids that are coming in as freshmen or they're coming in as transfers. I know the NCAA and college football itself, they partner with Deloitte to try to, approve these NIL contracts, if you want to call them contracts, but they essentially are at this point with really no restrictions until we get into a full-fledged pro system in the college ranks. But essentially what Dion and others have been saying is we need rule enforcement. Dion wants a salary cap. TCU head coach Sonny Dykes did something similar today where he's like, yeah, I hope Deloitte helps us with the rule enforcement. We need the adults back in the room. We need to be able to basically enforce all these rules where there's not all this money just being thrown around willy-nilly, where the rich always can get richer because they have the means to spend, while schools like, frankly, let's just call it what it is, Colorado and TCU. I mean, again, even with a guy like Dion, Rich, we know this, Colorado's not going to be able to outspend Alabama, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, wherever the case may be. Just those schools off the top of my head, considering the brand power that they have. So I'm with him on some of the changes that he wants. Try to model it more like the pro game, so you can actually get it to back, maybe you get more of a parity in college football, which we kind of see a little bit with the 12-team college football playoff. But again, Ohio State still won last year, so who knows when that parity is going to come, if it does come. But it seems like a lot of the Big 12 coaches, I know we were going to talk about the Big 10 today.
Yeah.
But but it seemed like at Big 12 media days today, especially yesterday and today, it seemed like all of those coaches are seemingly on the same page. They're trying to adapt to the new norm. Like Joey McGuire over at Texas Tech, a lot of money's coming in over at Texas Tech, and even Dion was like, "Hey, Joey, we need some money too. How about give us a couple dollars here to help us out with some players?" So, but it seems like they're all on the same page on how to adapt, what they want to change, and at least how they want the playoff to be expanded when it inevitably gets to 16 teams. Where I think the Big 12 is the one that wants that 5+11 model where you get the 5 conference champs in, the highest ranked ones automatically get in, and then you have the next 11 best teams get in via the rankings that way. So it seems like at least the Big 12, away from the SEC and the Big 10, Rich, they are all on the same page. It's just a matter of, are these changes going to be applied as they wish?
Listen, we know that there are structural flaws in college football. And the interesting thing with Colorado is, once Dion took that job, 10 seconds later, social blew up, right? The national buzz, the national attention, all these moves and the media buzz. Now, you got to match it with postseason results. I mean, think about it. Not 9-4 on merit, not bad. Bowl loss to BYU. But point is, you're right. It's going to be very hard to compete with those teams. But there's always been a competitive advantage and disadvantage, or lack of balance when it comes to college football, because the big teams that have the boosters, they have the money, they have the pedigree, the track record, the resume, the bigger stadiums, they have the better facilities, better education, if you will, with respect, the better gyms, everything. They're going to attract the 5-star recruit, the 5-star athlete. That is a fact, period.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, this is nothing new. It's just essentially now where it's like, all right, Ohio State, just use them as examples. They won the national championship last year. We know they can pull it. I mean, heck, I think people forget already at this point. It's already 2 years since he played there. But Caleb Downs, who's going to be a top 5 pick next year, their star defensive back, he was the freshman of the year just 2 years ago for Alabama. Just let that cross your mind. And I get that the coaching change was there. Nick Saban retired, so I understand there's a little bit more to it. But just imagine telling somebody that a kid was freshman of the year on Alabama that just won the SEC. They made the college football playoff. He's got 2 more years to play. He's going to be, at that rate, he's going to turn into what we think is going to be an excellent NFL safety or an excellent NFL defensive back. And he transfers to Ohio State. He goes away from Alabama. And again, the coaching change, that's the big caveat. Nick Saban to Kalen DeBoer. But still, to me, that was, that's a prime example of like anybody can leave at any time. There's no cap on anything. And I know it's Alabama to Ohio State, which is kind of a strange way to make my point here, but it just goes to show you guys will go from one great situation to another great situation. But it's not like Caleb Downs was going to go, yeah, I play for Alabama. I'm looking at my options, and let's just say I'll use my alma mater as an example. Rutgers is going to pay me a lot of money this year. It's not like he's going to Rutgers. You know what I mean? Bottom half Big Ten team when it comes to, when you're ranking out all 18 Big Ten teams at this point, it's like, yeah, Rutgers, 9 through 12 in the rankings. I'm going to go there instead of going to Ohio State where I could win a national championship. No, these guys are jumping to the best situations for them personally because of the money. If they give them a better chance to play and maybe win a championship, it only ups their brand and their stock for the NFL as well. So again, the rich get richer until there's a salary cap, which revenue sharing is, I guess, going towards that direction, Q, but it's not there yet because, again, until you make it nearly identical to the pro game where it's basically the minor leagues and a feeder system for the NFL, you're still going to have these issues for years to come.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're talking about fostering a competitive environment. And again, the schools that have the money that can spend it, ultimately, what am I doing? I'm positioning myself to attract and retain the best talent. I mean, it's like
it's a year-to-year business right now.
Of course.
There are no contracts, and like I said, these guys can leave at any time. Right. And until that's allowed, where I'm going to sign this NIL deal for 2 years. I have to stay at this school at minimum for 2 years before I can think about going to the NFL.
They're not going to do it because if someone comes along and offers $1 more, they're going to jump. We talk about the pros and the cons. And to your point, there's blurred lines between college and pro athletes. I
Right.
mean,
And they get into the weeds of collective bargaining, and then we've seen the Ivy Leagues how they want a union, they want to unionize. That's not going to happen anytime soon. Like, sure, the Ivy Leagues can do that. You think people in the SEC and the Big Ten, the higher ups are going to want players to unionize? Of course they're not. So they're just like, you know what? Let the chips fall where they may. We're going to quote unquote adjust to the times, and the players now have the total freedom of movement, which is good and bad, of course, as we've seen the last 5 years.
Well, the one thing, and Kevin C, I want to get some comments. Kevin C in North Jersey chimes in. He enjoys the college football talk with you, Costco, so we always appreciate you giving a couple of minutes. He wants to ask you pretty much flat out, is it fair that a freshman, before he even steps on a field, can get a deal for $5-10 million and he hasn't even proven himself?
Is it fair? I don't think it's fair for some of the older guys that have proven themselves, but it's whatever the market dictates. When you look at how these coaches and these boosters, it's not as so much as the coaches that, yes, they want these elite high school talents that can maybe contribute right away, or maybe only need 1 year of development in the program. But again, if you're going to shell that much money out, that kid better be playing right away as a true freshman, whether he's an offensive lineman, whether he's a skill guy, doesn't matter. But the market's dictated by who's going to value him the most. So let's just say, and this has no bearing on anything, but let's just say Alabama values this offensive tackle prospect who's, let's just say he's the number one kid in the country as the number one offensive tackle in the country. Alabama values him. Yeah, you're probably worth to us, maybe $1 million over the course of your 4 years right now because you're still a high school kid. Let's just say Texas Tech. I used them as an example before because they obviously have a lot of money coming in. But Texas Tech, and I believe that this actually is the case with one of the offensive linemen, if I remember off the top of my head, Texas Tech could value him at $5 million
right
in the course of 4 years right now before he even plays a snap. Where do you think the kid's going to go? He could have been an Alabama fan since birth. But if Texas Tech is going to say, we will give you $5 million over the course of 4 years compared to $1 million over the course of 4 years, where do you think he's going to go? He's going to go to Texas Tech. That is life-changing money as an 18-year-old.
Yeah, it's life-changing money for a lot of people, my friend.
You are not going to turn that down. You'd be crazy to turn that down. Now, I would have a lot of respect for somebody who turns that down to go to Alabama instead, but you might miss your window. Injuries happen. You might end up getting registered anyway, then you're transferring anyway. So at this point, I don't blame the kids for taking that money because they're not the ones who say – most of them, Q, are not going to say, I demand $5 million to come to your school to potentially play for more than 1 year. You know what I mean?
All I wanted was my books. Yeah, I just wanted a little bit of tuition. I couldn't even get that. I had to walk on when I went from JUCO to York, walked on, played ball there, played soccer there, worked at the radio station, worked on the bus, cleaned the bus, worked at the bar.
Working the bar, bussing tables.
I just wanted my books taken care of, man. That's all I wanted to. Now these
you
guys
wanted meals for next week. That's all you wanted.
That's it. Take care. Give me a meal card, something, man. Take care of me. Well, now these guys are sitting there before they even step on the friggin' field. They're demanding millions of
Lamborghinis going up to the freshman dorms.
Hey, listen, I mean, I don't even want to start. When our transfer portal was, all right, if you can get through JUCO in 2.5 years and go to a liberal arts college.
And now JUCO eligibility doesn't even count against you at this point due to the new rulings out.
It's crazy.
They'll call that down the line, they'll call it the Diego Pavia rules, what they're going to dub that in a few years. So it's the way it is now. Totally different world.
From On Three's Sports, Nick Costco joining us. Don't forget, follow him on X at Nick Costco 59. All right, Big Ten. Man, I'll tell you, I feel as though it's always a stacked conference. Is it not? And obviously, you get to the usual players when you start to look at the Ohio States and the Michigans and the Penn State. Let's start with a little bit of curveball. Let me go from, I guess you can say, surprise, lower expectations, but exceeded expectations, and work our way up. Indiana. I mean, they exceeded expectations, even though I can't stand that phrase, clearly last season. They play well, above and beyond. You had a first-year head coach at the helm. They won 11 games. They got to playoffs. You look at this squad right now, 2025. Are they going to be able to duplicate that success, or is this kind of like a Washington Commanders in the NFL? You're not going to be sneaking up on anyone in this conference.
Well, they're certainly not sneaking up on anybody this year, and they do have a much tougher schedule this season compared to last year. As I not to use Rutgers as an example, but they had a cake schedule last year, and even they couldn't win 9 to 10 games last year. Now you play the likes of the Oregons, the Penn States, so on and so forth. So I do like Indiana this year. Q. The problem is, you won 11 games last year, and then you kind of got waxed, so to speak, a little bit in the playoff. And of course, your only big game last year against Ohio State, you also lost. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this team rebounds this season, considering the non-conference schedule is whatever. It's Old Dominions, Kennesaw State, Indiana State, boom, 3-0. That should happen. But you have the likes of Iowa on the road. You have to go to Oregon. You have to go to Penn State. That's brutal. And, I know you have to go at Purdue, at your rival. Purdue's a big rebuild job right now. But those 3 road games I just mentioned, it's like you're going to 3 of the toughest environments in the conference. So at best, let's just say they lose all 3 of those games. You're looking at a 9-3 season. You're not making the playoff. You're not making the Big Ten championship with that. They're still going to be good, I would say. I do like their quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, who transferred in from Cal. Bit of a surprise transfer from last year. But Kurt Signetti, you know what? Everyone doubted him last year, and right after he came over from James Madison, where he won 11 games, and he basically said, Google me, I win. You know what? You do win, Kurt. You won 11 games last year. You set a program record for Indiana this year. You're going to win more this year, but I think they exceeded it last year. I'm looking at 9, maybe max 10 wins this year, Q, for Indiana. I don't think they're going to get back to the playoff, but they're still going to be a formidable team in the Big Ten, where I didn't think I was ever going to be saying that about Indiana, even just about 3-4 years ago.
They were pretty active in a portal, right? They got the lineman from Notre Dame. They got the kid from Colorado, the running back as well from Maryland. Now, how about defensively? They're bringing back 2 or 3 of the nation's best top defensive players, right? You got the lineman, you got the backer, you got the DB. They allowed right around 15.5 a game. I mean, if anything, you look for their defense to carry the offense and kind of, if they can, if it's, 21, 18, 21 points, they're surrendering, or, make it a 21-18, make it low scoring, ugly type of games. Like, can this team slow down a Michigan and Penn State? And Ohio State.
Michigan's interesting just because I know, and I'm sure we'll talk about them in a second, but their offense is obviously going to be the key this year with Bryce Underwood at quarterback most likely. You have Mikey Keene as well, so you would expect quarterback improvement. Penn State's the big barometer right now. Again, the Ohio States, the Oregons, the Penn States, those are the barometers right now when you're talking about, who they're going to slow down. Of course, they don't play Ohio State in the regular season this year, but I'll use Penn State as an example where they have pretty much everybody coming back. Drew Aller, arguably the best quarterback in the one of the best quarterbacks in the country, arguably the best quarterback in the Big Ten, depending upon who you ask. Of course, you have Katron Allen, Nick Singleton at running back. To me, that's probably the most loaded offense that you're going to get. Say if Indiana did play a team like Ohio State in the Big Ten title game, you have to defend Jeremiah Smith. How you doing that? That's going to be very difficult. Carnell Tate, too. So I like their linebacker, Aiden Fisher, or from Indiana, I should say. Again, a couple of transfers, as you mentioned, 2 guys on the defensive line. Hosea Wheeler's one of them. Stephen Daly, the other one, as one of their pass rushers. So Indiana, to me, yes, they've rebuilt that defense. I think they have a chance to do something along those lines. But, again, you're talking about a big ask, and I still think they're a slight step behind those big boys I mentioned in Penn State, Oregon. And, obviously, if they upset the apple cart and were able to face Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, I'm still going to favor Ohio State. So defense should be solid this year, but I don't think otherworldly as of right now as we sit here on July 9th.
So fair enough. So Indiana played above. They punched above their weight class last season. Illinois, they go from 5-7 to 10-3, 2023-2024 programs first, 10 victories last season. I think the first since 2000 or 2001. Now, you talk about a deep team. They got 16 starters back. They got one of the most experienced teams in the nation. You got a head coach that, is maybe sitting here saying, hey, we got the depth. Now, can we make a run here at the CFP, the College Football Playoff? How about as you kind of handicap Illinois?
Illinois is pretty good. I didn't think they were going to win 10 games last year. And as a Rutgers alum watching that game last year, watching Greg Schiano blow it in game to Indiana, where, the whole narrative of both teams could have been flipped last year. But, hey, that's why they were a better team. That's why they were a 10-win team. And I think they have the opportunity to do so again this year. I like Luke Altmaier at quarterback. There was a lot of rumor. I think we've talked about this before, too. A lot of whispers that he was eventually going to enter the transfer portal, either in the winter cycle or the spring cycle, because he was getting, quote-unquote, tampered with. He might have been tampered with, but he stayed with Illinois. So, again, they have one of the better quarterback situations in the Big Ten. Hudson Clement is a transfer wide receiver that should help out this year, along with Justin Bowick, giving them depth as well. On the defensive side, that's going to be the key right there. They have a pretty much rebuilt defensive line with transfers. James Thompson, Kurt Neal, just to name a few. Gabe Jacques is one of my favorite linebackers. I think I always say his name wrong, but Gabe Jacques, one of their outside linebackers. He's a force. look out for him. Should be a first-team All Big Ten contender. Can really cover sideline to sideline, rush the passer if he needs to, cover tight ends. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with, so I'd watch out for him as well. So they have stars on both sides of the ball, Q. As far as winning 10 games, not out of the question. I'm looking, they're probably in that 8 to 10 win range. If they do so, you're probably looking at an outside playoff contender with a 12-team bracket right now. As far as getting to the Big Ten championship, of course, we have that three-headed monster of Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon right now. So if they could pass one of those teams and get into that range of, all right, now we're one of the top three and make some noise, then you're looking at, okay, maybe a big-time contract extension once again coming for Brett Bielema. But I like Illinois this year. I think they're going to be solid. But as far as, make it as a shoe-in for the playoff, they're far from a shoe-in, but they're certainly going to be in the mix, especially if they play up to snuff.
My man Mel, who's out west in La La Land, is a big Dodgers, Ram, and USC fan. Hit me up on X, chiming in once the thoughts on, USC is kind of interesting, right? Because you go to Lincoln Riley, 11-3 debut 2022, 15-11 over the last 2 years. They needed that win against UCLA just to ensure bowl eligibility in their Big Ten debut last season. I pulled it up, 6 losses, right? You had games to Michigan, Penn State, Washington. 5 came by 7 points or less. So that kind of tells me you're right there. You got to figure out how to grow and how to close. How about USC? Can I don't want to say sleeper, dark horse, but as we like to say, upset the apple cart here.
I mean, I'll take the word that you don't like and say they are a dark horse. If you're going to pick a dark horse, I guess, for the Big Ten, because I don't think Illinois and Indiana really qualify at this point based on their seasons last year. I guess USC could be that dark horse because everyone's just waiting for Lincoln Riley to have that Oklahoma magic again, and coach up the quarterbacks. And I think Jaden Mayav is their projected starting quarterback this year after Miller Moss transferred for his final year to go play for Louisville this coming fall. But USC, to me, I'm looking at their schedule last year, all those losses, Notre Dame, Washington, Maryland, that's 3, Penn State, Minnesota, Michigan. All 6 of their losses, Q, actually not the Notre Dame loss, but 5 of their 6 losses, I should say, they were all one-score losses. So can they close? Can the defense get it right? I mean, Notre Dame put up 49 points on them towards the end of the season. Penn State, obviously, they blew that game in overtime. The Michigan game was obviously one that really stood out early on in the year in Ann Arbor, where it's like, what the heck just happened? The Maryland loss was very head-scratching as well. So was Minnesota on the road. So to me, it's always about Lincoln Riley's defense. Is that going to get fixed? Can it finally get fixed? But they do have talent back there. Eric Gentry, veteran linebacker back there for USC. He's really, really good. Why the heck isn't this defense any good? It seems like we'll never figure that question out. So if that is what's fixed, if they're just mediocre, I think we've said this year to year with Lincoln Riley over at On3 in terms of where he stands at USC. If that defense is just middling, just middle of the pack, throughout the country, if that defense is just middling the pack and that offense is elite as he can coach them up to do so, this team could win 9 to 10 games, and we're talking about competing for a playoff spot. You go back to his first year with the program when they were still in the Pac-12, lost the Pac-12 championship, lost both that 2 games that year to Utah, and Utah just absolutely just out physicaled them, and then of course they lost the New Year's Six game to Tulane, and it's like, all right, there's now there are cracks in the foundation of Lincoln Riley and USC. He's a quarterback whisperer, gets big-time recruits. He can get guys to transfer in there, but the Big Ten has not been too kind to them so far through just one season. But if I'm going to pick a dark horse, I would love to say USC, but I'm banking on the defense, which even back to the Oklahoma days, you have not been able to do so. It's tough for me to do that. You're looking at maybe about that 8-win range, I would say, right now. But this team can certainly surprise people, if you want to use that word, later on the season. But to me, it's a wait and see approach, and I'm not too confident in that pick to say, yeah, that team could be in the playoff this year.
Ryan Day, we've hammered him. A lot of the media's hammered him over the years, and you look again. You had that history-making run, first 12-team playoff field. Here we go. You can't compare him. It's just not fair. I mean, Urban Meyer, if you look at his record versus the Big Ten while he was at Ohio State, we're talking 2012 to 2018, 57-5. He had 2 losses to Michigan. Yeah, Penn State, Michigan State. He lost twice. He lost to Iowa. And I think he lost to Purdue. There's his 5.
Yeah,
so
again, that was the monumental upset. I think it was the Rondale Moore game for Purdue where they knocked off Ohio State, which was kind of shocking. But I mean, your point is right. He never lost. He never lost.
Exactly. So now you got Ohio State coming in, feeling themselves a little bit. You can't even say chip on their shoulder. Okay, are they built to do what Alabama did? 2011, 2012. Are they built to do what Georgia did? And Georgia was based on that defense. Let's be honest,
Right.
still are. 2022, 2023, go back to back since the start of the BCS era, which was formulated back in 1998. Now, I think they're stacked, but
Mhm.
they also have had some turnover on both sides of the ball. They're always going to be stacked.
Yeah.
So is this the year where you're like, okay, expectations, you want it, it's not happening, or are they a serious threat to go back to back here?
I don't think they're the favorite to win it all, but I would be stunned if this team is not high up in the CFP rankings when it's all said and done. Where with the format now, it's it's the 5 highest ranked conference champs get in, but the 4 buys at the top are just the 4 highest ranked teams. So could I see a situation where Ohio State loses to Penn State or Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, and then all of a sudden there's still a top 4 seed in the playoff? Yeah, I could absolutely see it, because you no longer have where the conference champs automatically get buys. So I could definitely see that for the Buckeyes this year. Are they going to repeat right now? No, I think people are still going to go with Texas. They're going to go with Georgia. I think a lot of people are really high on Alabama and Kalen DeBoer in year 2. Obviously, people love what Penn State's doing, how they're trying to do the Ohio State model of we're going to run it back this year and now finally win it all. So they're going to be in the thick of it in terms of winning it all this year, Q. They're going to be in the thick of it of winning the Big Ten. They're one of the 3 teams that I would pick to win the Big Ten this year. I already mentioned their stars. Jeremiah Smith, the wide receiver, arguably the best wide receiver in the country, and he's still to play another college year before we see him in the 2027 NFL draft. I already alluded to Caleb Downs back there in the secondary. Another guy who might be underlooked in the secondary is Davison Igbignosin as well. His brother, fun fact, also played at Rutgers. So there's my Rutgers connection right there. To me, the biggest question is the quarterback. And Ryan Day, like Lincoln Riley, is a quarterback whisperer. Julian Sayin seems like he's going to be the guy this year. I know Lincoln Kienholz is still in that battle right now. They haven't named a starter yet. And you do have to watch out for the true freshman, Tavian St. Clair. He's really good, but he's probably bound for a redshirt year this year. You'll see him next year. I know, but even though Julian Sayin's only a freshman right now. So young guy, redshirt freshman, I should say. So they have a lot of young quarterbacks. Whoever wins this job probably set up to be the long-term starter unless St. Clair really jumps levels from a redshirt year into next year for the 26 season. But Sayin's really good. You hear people have been raving about him in camp, and he seems to be the front runner. He has been the front runner pretty much since the springtime. So to me, Ohio State, 11-1, undefeated regular season, could easily see it. This team's definitely a playoff team. And to me, in the end, I think they lose 1 game this year at most in the regular season. And who knows, maybe it's to Michigan, maybe it's to Penn State. But I think they're probably Big Ten championship bound if the schedule goes the way I think it's going to go. And whether they win or lose that game, this team is probably going to be within the seeds. If they're not Big Ten champs, Q, they're probably going to be in the seed range of 3 to 6, and they'll be set up for another run here to try to win back-to-back titles.
Yeah, and that conference, 10.5 seems to be the number, right? Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, they're all sitting at 10, 10.5, with juice to you over 10.5. And then you got Michigan State, Wisconsin, UCLA, your Scarlet Knights sitting right around 5.5, Maryland 4.5, Northwestern 4, Purdue 3. Now, because we have, Rutgers alone that will chime in during the show. Mike chimes in. He's a Rutgers alum through and through. Unbelievable. I hate giving you a couple minutes, because if I give you a couple minutes on Rutgers, we're going to hit the bottom of the hour break. So I'm going to hear it during the college football season when you're on with me during the week. I'm going to hear it during your Cal Live athletic Cal Live segment when we're talking
6-0 to 6-6. That's the way the schedule sets up.
Listen. Come on, man. We're talking 5.5 now. I'm not going to say you, but Rutgers won 7 games last season. The schedule's a bit different, right? Because now you're taking on top tier competition in the conference. You got Oregon midseason. You got to end the year back-to-back Ohio State, Penn State. You're going to be underdogs in those games. You got, a team that's going to have to reach 6 wins before Ohio State comes into town. And yes, I did my due diligence on my research on your Rutgers Scarlet Knights. So is it possible that you get 2 to 3 winnable non-conference games? You get a road game against Purdue. If you win that game, maybe you can squeeze another game or two just to help me put a little coin in the pocket if I'm going to.
Let me guess. Do you want another bowl game? You want another bowl game? You want 3 straight bowl games for Rutgers? I think that's what you want. That's what
Oh,
I'm hearing.
come on.
But it is funny you brought up last year, because I mentioned how last year that schedule was a cakewalk, and they still only managed 7 wins, and they lost a heartbreaker in that bowl game
Yep.
where they could have ended on a positive note. I mean, you're talking about that horrible UCLA loss, and I know they lost by 3, 35-32, but they were down big in that game before a late rally. But the Nebraska loss really stings, and of course the Illinois loss, as I mentioned, at home, where Shiano iced the kicker, but he missed, and then after he made it, it was terrible. Actually, no, they went for it on 4th down, and they got it.
I think that was the game I actually text you laugh out loud, and then I left you alone.
It was just poor game management. But you're looking at 2 games, right? 3 games. I'm not going to count the UCLA game, but that's where I said, not 10 regular season wins, but 10 wins overall were in the cards for Rutgers last year. And everyone had been like, oh my God, you better build Shiano 2 statues for his first tenure and the second one. So it's not going to be that easy this year. The schedule sets up for, let's say, 6 wins to be nice. 5.5 is right. But I would take the over only because Ohio, Miami of Ohio, Norfolk State, you would think 3, if they can't win all 3 of those non-conference games,
you're in trouble.
Chalk it up. No postseason this year. Iowa at home, that does help, but they've had their issues with Iowa, so that it's a winnable game in the first half of the schedule. They're at Minnesota, also winnable, and they beat Washington last year, so that's also winnable. And then here's where it gets really difficult. Oregon's coming to town on homecoming. They're at Purdue, should be a win. At Illinois, very tough. Maryland could be a win. To toss-up game, they've given them trouble before. At Ohio State, and then home against Penn State. Good luck, Greg. You're not winning those games. If they pull off one of those upsets, you might see me throw a parade.
But you know what's going to happen? The same nonsense as last year. You wax Howard. You beat little poor Akron. Acorn of the poor.
No, Acorn State. You're right.
Come on, it's Akron, but I call them Acorn. The joke.
There's Alcorn States. Don't forget about them either.
Virginia Tech, which is squeaked by. Washington. All right, I'll give you that. Then you had no offense against Nebraska. Wisconsin, you didn't even show up. UCLA was a bad loss, as you mentioned. USC, you didn't show up. You were getting all giddy at 4-0, thinking, "Here we go." It's the same nonsense with Rutgers. It's going to play out the same thing. Like, of course, if you're Rutgers, I would want those tougher games, honestly, early on. But that's not how it shapes out.
No, and it's unfortunate because usually they do get those tough games pretty much all season long. If you go back to before they realign with the adding the West Coast teams when they saw divisions, they played Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State. They played those teams every single season, and they usually got screwed on the crossover games with Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska. They didn't get handpicked Purdue, Northwestern. They didn't get those teams every single season. So they got a favorable schedule last year, couldn't take advantage. It's half favorable this year. So to me, the 5.5, I would still take the over. They can win 6 games. If they won more than 6 games, they're done. The only way they're going to win 7 games, Q, is if they go 6-6 and then win the bowl game over. I don't know who. They're going to go play in the Quick Lane Bowl in Detroit, or God forbid the Pinstripe Bowl for the 10th time in their program history.
Talking a little college football with our guy, Nick Costco. Get to some comments in a minute. Not that it matters, but the Yankees have DFA'd LeMahieu. So that's not a...
Can I just tell you real quick that I wish the Red Sox could play the Nationals and the Colorado Rockies every single day, because it seems to be working out for them.
I mean, it's sickening. It's absolutely sickening. I mean, Boston's been one of the hottest teams in baseball. What do you?
Albeit against the worst teams in baseball.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're still winning games.
Not to get off on a tangent here. I was ready to renounce my fandom when they traded Devers, and now I'm over that. But if they trade Bregman now, I'm just like, you know what? This team might as well be the Oakland Athletics for how cheap they're going to be. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm trying to enjoy the ride.
And it turns into Rutgers and Boston and the Eagles. I don't get it. It makes absolutely no sense.
I even mentioned the Eagles.
It doesn't matter.
That's your fault.
I can see right in the background. That's why everyone, again, and Man doesn't even, he has you as Costco.
Sorry.
Listen, hold on. Man has you as Costco, like the shopping place with the C, not the K. I'd like to know if Costco saw Q get tilted by the Bradshaw Manning comment. So basically he chimed in and said Terry Bradshaw and Eli Manning were underrated. It's a Woosah Wednesday. It basically, I need to breathe for 2 hours. So it's almost as though, how long does it take for me to get worked up?
And you're not breathing right now. I can tell you that.
I'm not what?
No, you're not breathing right now. I can tell you that. You're not calm right. You're not woosah right now. I can tell you that, because now you're getting fired up once again, are they underrated? I don't know. One's in the Hall of Fame, one's
Called
going
him
to go to the Hall of
overrated.
Fame.
He called him overrated.
I thought you said underrated.
He called him overrated.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
No.
I don't want to get fired up, man.
It's only you're almost hitting the heart out right here. I don't want to get fired up.
No, you're good. I want to get to some of these no heart out. Still love.
You're gonna get me talking for another 2 hours on this show, and your show's only 2 hours.
Scott chimes in. How many upsets can Nick see come in playoff time? And if so, what is one of those teams he thinks? I guess we're talking overall, or I don't know if just a Big Ten, but just overall, your thoughts where you can maybe see some
as
upsets.
far as like a dark horse playoff team, I really want to say Colorado, but that I would just be a moron right there to say that out loud. Or I'd be considered biased right now. I'm still on the Coach Prime train. You know what's funny? Every year, everyone says, I mean, I'm a huge Utah guy. I'm a huge Kyle Whittingham guy. I would love to say Utah does this and they get to the playoff because they've kind of rebuilt everything after last year's disappointing season. I can't quite buy into them as a playoff team this year. I would love to say them. I guess if you're going to come out, because you could pretty much pick anybody from the Big Ten or the SEC that's at least worth talking about and say, yeah, that team could surprise and make the playoff. Like if I said Auburn, would that be totally out of left field? Not really. I don't expect it, but would that be shocking at the end of the season if Auburn finally got everything to click with Jackson Arnold at quarterback and all of a sudden Hugh Freeze is pushing all the right buttons? No, not necessarily. I'm actually going to say this because I'm going to go against the grain a little bit, and I actually will stick in the SEC when it comes to maybe a surprise team. I'm only going to call them a surprise because I don't buy the hype right now. Oklahoma. I don't buy the hype. For some reason, people are hyping up Oklahoma this year, and I haven't seen anything where it's like, oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to say Oklahoma is going to be a great team this year. Brent Venables, to me, has done nothing in his head coaching tenure, at least, with the Sooners that warrants me saying the Sooners are going to contend for the SEC. When you're talking about the SEC, you're talking about Texas, Georgia, Alabama. I guess you could throw in who off the top of my head. I might be missing somebody now. Ole Miss, just because Lane Kiffin just wants to spoil the party. But to me, or LSU, I'm sorry, I almost forgot about them. Or even Florida. So Oklahoma to me is a team.
Their odds are high though. I know you're saying the hype, but they're ridiculous.
People I've seen preseason rankings where Oklahoma is like is borderline preseason top 10, which I don't.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, I'm not kidding you.
Preseason top 10?
I've seen borderline top 10. I've seen it with at least aggregated.
Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Penn State, quack, Clemson, Notre Dame, Alabama, LSU, Michigan. There you go. Boom. Done. See ya.
I think the issue with Oklahoma is I think the people that are high on Oklahoma, the problem is they look at John Mateer, the quarterback. And again, if the quarterback's right and then Venables obviously, fixes his own defense, then you're talking about, okay, maybe a playoff contender, one of the bottom seeds in the playoff. John Mateer is to me the guy that's going to make this work. Because obviously Michael Hawkins is a sophomore and he takes a seat now. Mateer comes in from Washington State, dual threat quarterback. Really, really exciting. I think Oklahoma's getting more team buzz only because he's getting dark horse Heisman buzz. I think that's my issue right now with Oklahoma. He's a great individual player as a quarterback, but to me, you're looking at Oklahoma like that to me would be a surprise team to make the playoff as far as a team that if they get it all together, yes, that's a team I could see making a run, but I don't want to. I think I'm only saying that because I'm going against the hype that I've seen personally. If I'm going to pick a team out of the SEC that is not one of the favorites, it's probably going to be Florida. I think Florida's the team that I think a lot of people were like, all right, if that's the team that if it gets all its ducks in a row, they're the ones that are going to make a serious run, maybe win 10 games, maybe not even win the SEC, but win 10 games, get in the playoff, and maybe even win a playoff game. And Billy Napier will certainly save his job and then some at that point.
I love my listeners. This is. So Man says he's Costco because of the immense wealth of knowledge he provides for fantastic value.
You get fantastic value because I could do this show out of my house. That's right.
Wait, now
I have a home studio.
Actually, he actually brings up a very good Rutgers comment that everyone's talked about for the last 20 years. Imagine if Rutgers can keep all these added.
Oh yes, we do the same thing, but we do the same thing with wrestling. it's just not. It's not a reality anymore. You can go anywhere. You have to be able to be dynamic. And I know that was the whole
Yeah,
thing.
but don't you want local players? Like, you got a kid in
You do.
Pacheco, right, who's a violent player, and
And they still get those kids. And
Right.
they still get those kids. The problem is, I think what people almost forget with the fence to garden thing, especially when it comes to football. For me, for the wrestling stuff as well, it's like you almost forget. Greg Schiano during his first stint, you know how much of a Florida influence he had. You need those kids. You're not gonna get everybody from New Jersey, because guess what? Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State.
No one's saying that, but it hurts more when you lose the 5-star athlete from Jersey to the big school.
But guess what? But guess what also happened? They got one of the best tackles in the class of 2025. He was an early enrollee. Guess where he played? Toms River North. So he's 40 minutes away. Jalen Matthews. He probably could have started this year as a true freshman. Guess what happened, Q? He enrolled early in January. He spent 3 months on campus. He went into the spring portal, and he got a bag from Florida State.
Of course, and then he left.
That's the reality.
Okay, so what does a Rutgers need to do then to compete?
Money. That's it. Money. If you have money, you compete. That's the way.
All right, All right, I'm gonna hold on. Let me throw a curveball at you. Belichick took the most obscure type of job, North Carolina.
Sure.
Okay. What if a Belichick, and just please go down the rabbit hole with me. What if a Belichick turned around and he started to, if we wanted to go Rutgers, and we're gonna close on that with you, but go ahead.
If Belichick went to Rutgers, then I think you get a lot more brand power. Don't forget, Belichick is a big brand himself. He can influence a lot, Jordan Hudson aside. But if he can influence a lot. But also, I know it's a hole in the wall place for college football, but North Carolina is still the Jordan brand here. So let's not pretend they don't have money over here. If he went to Rutgers, which by the way, he had sons who went to Rutgers, and he's a big lacrosse guy, I think Rutgers would be better off in terms of star power. But they also have Greg Schiano, who's gotten these kids to the NFL since he was there 25 years ago at this point. So it's like that's not the issue. It's an issue of now the kids want to get paid. You're not going to get the 5-star quarterback who's going to command $5 million a year or $5 million in the course of his college career from a different school compared to my distinguished alma mater, which is known for its.
I can't.
Not for me because I can't even talk.
And I'm getting hammered now. They're saying the obsession with Belichick, which I don't have. I was just asking.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I mean, hey, that's there's no checks being cut on my end.
That's neither here nor there. No,
exactly. Thank you very much.
We're on the Dion payroll. Let's not forget
this is absolutely true. All right, brother. We know every Wednesday and Friday you're going to be joining us. We'll talk a little college football on Wednesdays and pros, and we'll talk a little local high school as well. Give Nick a follow on X as well at Nick Costco 59. I appreciate you, brother. Great stuff as always.
Appreciate you, Rich. Thanks, man.
All right, you got it. There's my guy, Nick Costco. All right, we're going to take a quick time out. We're going to see if we can pull my guy, Jonathan Marshall. He's driving around somewhere. We got to make sure that he's in frame because for some reason, I just have no idea what the hell's going on today with the system. So with that being said, quick time out. We'll come back on the other side. Excellent stuff from Costco. As you guys pointed out, a lot of knowledge at a good value, just like the Costco with the C.
The blast of the drinks pouring. Take a risk like it's a short thing. Going in, yeah, I'm going all in. Get it cool out, yeah, you can bring a friend. Live right in, let's go. Do more than dip in the car. Let the rhythm take control. It's going down tonight, yeah. Live right in, let's go. Do more than dip in the car. Let the rhythm take control. It's going down tonight, yeah. Live right in.
All right. He might not see me, but I can see him, and that's okay. He's driving around. My good friend, Jonathan Marshall, covers the league, Summer League, NBA, Boston Celtics, WMUR, kind enough to join us. I got the text. I was about to text you back and say, that's okay. Take care of what you need to take care of. I mean, is the little one in the back with you while you're driving?
I'm not. Well, my wife's driving. I'm in the back. Little guy is here, safe and sound. Sleep, thank God. So no interruptions. Driving is the best case when it comes to trying to get him to sleep. Driving is the best bet for him. So we're good, Q. I see you. We're all clear. We're good. We're good to go. The grind don't stop, Q.
No, I mean, listen. I'm more
Only do this for you. Only do this for you.
Hey, listen, and I appreciate that. I was a little concerned. We want to make
Everything's
sure the
good.
little guy,
Everything's
the
good.
little guy
Everything's
is
good.
good. Yeah, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Hold on a second, let's pull over. He can wait. Give him a bottle. He'll be good to go." All right, let's get into it for a couple minutes while I have you, and I won't hold you too long. But so not shocking, but the Pacers announced Halliburton's going to miss the entire upcoming season. We already talked about that change with Tatum and the Boston Celtics. They're certainly rebuilding. You covered the Boston Celtics. So now we look at a wide open Eastern Conference, so to speak. Is Boston, with the moves that they've made, you believe right now they're rebuilding / playing the long game?
I think they're retooling, right? Because a rebuild to me is a team that's tearing it all down to the foundation. The foundation is still strong in Boston. You still have Jalen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard. We'll see what happens with Sam Hauser. I think this could be a blessing in disguise for the Celtics, right? Because honestly, you're playing with house money. The expectations aren't championship or bust this year. You have a built-in excuse with Tatum, right? And so if you make the playoffs, great, right? The fans get a few extra games. You get some playoff money, right? And you get playoff experience for those younger guys like Baylor Shireman, right? Jordan Walsh, younger guys that people aren't aware of. But for the Celtics, you can see what these young guys can do with more playing time and opportunity. Or if it goes totally left, which I don't think happens if those guys are healthy, it's not a bad year to have a high draft pick as well, right? I think it's a good opportunity to, like, there's a kid from Boston, AJ DeBanza, who will be one of the top picks in next year's draft. If you want to play conspiracy theory, right? It's not far fetched to think about the hometown kid getting lined up with the hometown team, right? But that's just conspiracy theory talk. But think about when the Spurs got Tim Duncan, right? David Robinson was hurt that year, right? So these things happen, and so for Boston, I think it's a win-win situation. You got to shed some salary with Drew Holiday gone and Kristaps Porzingis, and so now you're in a position where Brad Stevens saying, okay, who is a Baylor Shireman? Who is Jordan Walsh? We got Hugo Gonzalez in the first round. Who are these guys who, if Tatum's healthy, these guys wouldn't get opportunities because Drew Holiday probably would still be there. Maybe the Porzingis would still be there. Now we get a head start on seeing what the next 4 years looks like. And Jalen Brown and Tatum are still in their prime.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, it's funny too. We were talking with the NFL and collusion and conspiracy, and I said I'm a huge conspiracy fan, and I think with the NBA, it's kind of a different conversation, a different animal when you talk about the draft being rigged years ago, and everyone goes back to obviously my guy Patrick Ewing and the Knicks in '85, and they're like, I'm curious, the Sixers right now, right? We talk a lot about them. They signed Walker, 2-way contract. They re-signed Lowry. They added the kid Edgecombe, who's looking good in summer league.
Yeah.
You got a Broom to rookie scale contracts. Gordon, I think, Watford as well. What about at this moment? And correct me if I'm wrong. Quentin Grimes.
The Quentin Grimes situation confuses me, right? Because okay, some time has passed in free agency. I don't know. Obviously, you want to make as much money as possible on the open market, right? But it seems like the money's all dried up, right? Because if you would have got the deal that you wanted, you would have got it by now, right? You had a great season last year. You got a great opportunity. You stepped up. You bought out. You're a name that people are paying attention to. A lot of teams could use your services, but there's a reason why you haven't gotten that deal yet. Teams ain't got the money right now. If they had the money, you would be paid. And so for Quentin Grimes, you have to make a decision. Like, he has to make a choice. I think at this point, the Sixers are looking really good. I think they have all the leverage at this point. I don't know what Grimes is waiting for. I don't know what magical deal is on the table that he's thinking he's going to get. He may have to wait another year. Maybe he signs a shorter term deal and once again tries to level up for another year. But I understand it's a risk you take because your stock probably won't be as high as it was this past year because you have a Jared McCain coming back. You have a VJ Edgecombe. So the guard rotation is a little more crowded now, right? And so what will the market be for you next year? And so it's a tricky situation. But look, do you want to play or not? Like, you have to make a decision. And so I think at the end of it all, I think he'll be back in the Philly.
Yeah, I mean, this is, first of all, this is not fair right now because I'm getting hammered. It's a Woosah Wednesday, so I try to be calm and relaxed for 2 hours on a Wednesday, and because you were my intern back in 2009. You heard me on 1290 The Ticket when I would blow a gasket. When I'm getting ready to blow a gasket. So here's the problem right now. I got the dog that's hungry, and I can start to hear her cry in the background. Now I'm getting people chime in, basically saying, "Hey, watch the road." Right? That's number one. When you already explain that you're not driving, then I
I'm
got
not driving. Seatbelt is on.
okay. Well, hold on a second. Then the man says, "My God, what is Q? A drill sergeant? Sergeant Q Holka? Give Marshall a day off. Baby needs rest. I should report Q to Dife." That's not on me. That's not on me. That's unbelievable. Now I'm getting, yeah, I don't want to hear this nonsense. This is ridiculous. This is
People
out,
got to understand the grind, Q. Like, it don't stop. You know,
keep
you're my guy. So, like I said, I only do it for you. The baby's cool. Like, we're chilling. The wife's driving. The seatbelt's on. Like, I'm good. I'm comfortable, honestly.
I mean, they're thinking I'm a Gestapo over here, something like that. You wanted the day off. You have the day off. It doesn't matter. I'm okay with that. But no,
This
they
is
want
live. This is live radio. We got to get it done. The show goes on, Q. Come on. Tell them.
I can, but they don't listen. I can lead them to the water, brother, but they don't want to drink it. The interesting with Grimes is, think about it: 28 games with the Sixers, averaged 29, had a couple of big offensive games. Is it possible maybe the Sixers are saying, okay, can you do that over a longer stretch?
Possibly, right? But it might be tougher, right? Like, it's higher stakes, right? The Sixers with if Joel Embiid's healthy, if Paul George is healthy, right? You're talking about a team competing for a playoff spot. How does a player compete? How does a player look? Because reality is, Q, some players thrive better in situations where the stakes aren't as high. And so we got to see, when the pressure's on, when the lights are bright, how do you respond to that? How do you respond to more competition? If VJ Edgecombe, it's just summer league, one game, but he's a hooper. I like his game, and he's going to come and compete. And so with Grimes and his agency, his representation, or whatever the case may be, they're looking at that too, as well as like, okay, how much more of an opportunity will I get compared to this past year? Last year was the best opportunity I may get in Philly right now, as far as to showcase my game. The backcourt is crowded. Like, it's a conversation. Like, they have the guards now. Where does Grimes fit in that situation? I think he's a valuable asset for this team. I think he will make this team even better. But he has to make a decision. I don't know what deal he's waiting. I don't know what he's waiting for. Because once again, after what you displayed toward the end of the season, any team, especially a team that wants to compete for a playoff spot, would love to have your services. And
Yeah.
the money just isn't there. You can't force something that isn't there. You just can't.
Yeah. No, you're right. And there are other guys that are taking advantage of opportunities, making deep runs at the playoff, winning championships and cashing in. Holmgren agrees to that rookie max extension and rookie max extension. And good for him. I mean, I got to give you credit, because you called this several years ago. You basically said, I love what OKC is building. And now they've got all the pieces in place. I mean, I look at them right now in the Western Conference. I'm not sold. Don't give me the Lakers. And, what I got hammered last week because we're talking about LeBron and the Lakers and going forward. And, you got to take that money. You got to opt in. You got to take that. Okay. Well, do you want to win? Do you want the money, or is it a package deal? You're still trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my kid and his future. And I just think it's just a mess. Point being is, in the Western Conference, Golden State's getting older, right? I think the Timberwolves, they're not going to sneak up on anyone. The Clippers always find a way to just screw themselves. That's just a fact. Because they're the Clippers ultimately. You got the Thunder coming off a championship, winning 68 games. Now Houston, have they made enough already? You start to grade those moves and say, okay, right away, now you can jump 52 to 60 wins. And oh, by the way, you are going to now compete with the Thunder.
Yeah, I think, respectfully, the Thunder are the champions, and so they should be respected as such. And I don't think people realize the experience that comes with having a championship run, the confidence, the pressure isn't on you as much, right? And so they can sort of play with, obviously, their expectation is that you repeat your excellence, but the weight that's lifted, like, we aren't considered the choke artist, right? Like, we got the job done, right? So a guy like Chet Holmgren, how much better will he improve his game? Even though he had his ups and downs during that series, right? But he still persevered, and he helped the team win a championship. SGA, the year that he had, how much confidence will he build? Jalen Williams, a lot of people doubted him as the secondary option. How much better, how much more confidence will he have? And so the Rockets, on paper, Kevin Durant is a great player, but Kevin Durant is pushing 40 still. And we may have had these conversations, but teams who win championships, their best players they tend to be in that sweet spot of that late 20s, early 30s
30s.
phase. Like, just look at it, just go back, right?
Yeah.
And so, as great as Kevin Durant has been and is, I think you have to rely on a guy like a Reed Shepherd to level up. I love Amin Thompson. How much better will he get? Fred VanVleet as your starting point guard, I still have question marks when it comes to that. And so, Houston, they are better, but OKC's chemistry, OKC is getting their lottery pick from last year, Nikolai Topic, who was looking good in the summer league. They're getting him back, you know? I think OKC is primed to repeat as Western Conference champions and maybe even NBA champions. I think they're ready.
You know, every couple years, right? You see the new crop, the new guard come into play, the younger player, right? Because it's a young man's game. Are we starting to now kind of see that? I mean, the Currys of the world, you know, the Hardens of the world, the KDs, the LeBrons, they're just twilights of their career when
Yeah.
you really start to think about it. And then you've got the young players coming in, and, you know, you've got the European, you've got that market, you're tapped into that. You've got some great talent. I just feel as though it's a young man's game, I guess is my point, man. And I just think a team like OKC is built to be very competitive, to go back, to potentially win it again. And then you look at a team like Houston, even though they made the move for Durant, you brought it up, right? He's older. You know, he's another slip and fall Achilles tear away from pretty much his career being ended. Oh, we were doing so good. He had the baby on board. We were in perfect Wi-Fi. We got Jonathan frozen. He's frozen in time because of my unbelievable comment and my knowledge of the band. I think, there he is. See, you got me. You chime in if you got me. If you're not, don't worry about it. I'll just keep going. This is what I do. I go solo. Now, if I were to answer myself with that comment, I would say, all right, Jonathan's offline. I think we lost him. We might have to fire him back up. Let's see if we can fire him back up. If not, he's got to take care of the baby. I don't know why I got hammered for that stuff. I don't know. I mean, what do we got here? Sergeant Holka, deep cut. Hartman, I didn't hear that. Excuse me. Ball, you're all right with me. Ball, you're all right with me. You don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. And because it's a Woosah Wednesday, the man tried to fire me off at 9 minutes past the 4 o'clock hour. We'll see if we can grab Jonathan. If not, no worries. We'll take a break. It's 20 past 5 o'clock hour. A little more NBA talk. We'll go around baseball. And there's no need to call anyone on me, madman. That's just utterly ridiculous. That's not fair, to be quite honest with you. Quick timeout.
The blast got the drinks pouring. Take a risk like it's a short thing. Going in, yeah, I'm going all in. Get it out, yeah, you can bring a friend. Dive right in, let's go. Move forward, dip in the flow. Let the rhythm take control. It's going down tonight, yeah. Dive right in, let's go. Move forward, dip in the flow. Let the rhythm take control. It's going down tonight, yeah. Dive right in.
This is what the Down Beach Seafood Fest is all about. It's about community, it's about friends, it's about culture, right? The food culture in Atlantic County is rich.
Hidden in an abandoned campground in South Jersey lies a mystical encounter with brews and spirits, where bonfires burn, shadows dance, and flavor favors the bold. Ghosts, ghouls, goblins, grown-ups, it's time to reclaim Halloween. This is Witchcraft, October 10th and 11th. For tickets and information, visit witchcraftnj.com.
5:20 on a Woosah Wednesday. Joe D chimes in. Dyfus' comment was a little harsh. Q. I agree. That I'm not going to say it was a hurtful comment, but I would say that was that's teetering. That's teetering on a low blow. What do we got here? Kevin chimes in. Q. Love the Yankees talk yesterday, and the baseball talk with Steve Garner is going to be a weekly spot. Yes, Steve's going to join me definitely during the week. All right, I'm going to try to pull up Jonathan one more time. If not, I got to kibosh the spot, because what's happening is it's just right now we want to sit there and say it's not a what's the word I'm looking for? We don't want to say it's a disruptive force to the show, but what we're going to do is we're going to see if I can make it work, and then we're going to get back to your comments. Steve Garner is going to join me during the baseball week on the weekly spot. All right, let's see now. He doesn't need to see me. I see him. There's the Wi-Fi. The baby's good to go. We don't have to call Dyfus on anyone. All right, we got a couple minutes, and then I will definitely let you get out of here. But Summer League, real quick. Your initial impressions of a kid like Edgecombe and Ace Bailey.
Yeah, I think first Edgecombe is as advertised. Athleticism is special, defensively the intensity, but I think he showed that there's more to his offensive game. Right, I like the mid-range game that he showed, the ability to play on the ball. He's going to make his mistakes, and it's unfortunate that he's been hurt the last couple of games, because you want him to get those reps. But I think Sixers fans have something to look forward to. For the first time in a while, Sixers basketball will be exciting, Q. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh,
He's going to be good.
Oh,
He's going to be good.
God. Are you kidding me? Because you draft one or two kids, all of a sudden they're going to be exciting. It's going to be good. Come on.
I didn't mention Embiid or Paul George.
Yeah,
You know what? For me, watching the Sixers is all about those young guys.
You know what?
Forget about the old heads, Q. I'm all about McCain, Maxey. We'll see what happens with Grimes, Justin Edwards, Edgecombe. Let's see how those young guys develop. That's for Sixers fans. Forget about the old guys. Forget about it. It's over.
No. I will say this. We should go back to what we used to do when I was down the dial on the other station a cup of coffee ago, and we just will not bring up Embiid anymore. Like that.
I'm in agreement with that.
All right, that's fine. Then I will allow for the Sixers talk. Michael chimes in. Ace Bailey, are you? And then Sixers should they have drafted Ace, even though he didn't want to work out for him?
If he doesn't want to be if I'm running a team and a player doesn't want to be there, I'm not drafting him, because I got to question your mentality. I got to question your representation. I got to question the people you have in your circle. How are you going to be a pro for the next decade? Can I rely on you? Everything from Edgecombe shows me they made the right choice. His mentality, what the coaches have said about, and like everything that we're hearing about him, even like his upbringing. And I was talking about his mom, no electricity. Like, you love stories. Like he's going to grind. He's going to work. His attitude on the game, he's not shying away. The Sixers need that. They don't need any more guys. So you got to wonder, do you want to be here?
Like a Ben Simmons.
They've had enough of that. And so Ace Bailey is talented. He's a great scorer, but what else will you bring to the table? Edgecombe has those intangibles that I think this team has been missing, and Sixers fans will agree.
Now, is this quick recency bias because one kid scores 8 and the other drops 28?
I don't think so, because Ace bounced back and had a really good game. And so I think Ace is going to be a really good player for years to come. But once again, when you're building a championship foundation, and what's the formula? Guys who can play both ends of the floor, guys who will defend, guys who will actually love and value the culture that you're trying to build. With Ace Bailey, you got to question that. Does he want to be in Utah, really?
Yeah, but let me push back a little bit, and here's the counter with that. I'm not even going to say a controversial pick, right? I mean, obviously the kid made headlines because, again, you're talking about a, U.S.-based draft prospect, which is unheard of to decline to work out for any team before the draft. That's unheard of. Kids over in Europe, look at the film. They got their handlers. It is what it is. So he wanted to land. Ace did. He wanted to land. His goal is, I want to land with a certain team in the first round. And again, who knows if he really wants to be in Utah, but I can then flip it and say, well, here you go. Utah took a risk picking this kid, right? And, I don't know, man. I thought he was setting himself up to fail prior to the draft and almost sabotaging his career. But if he's going out there and averaging 18 to 20 a night as a rookie, then we're not
Yeah.
even in this conversation. We're not even reverting back to he
Right.
decided to spurn teams prior to the draft. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, no, both for talent, but long term, how do we see Ace developing his total game? For me, VJ Edgecombe is I think there's more to his game at this point, as far as both ends of the floor.
Now we pushed Trey Johnson too, remember?
Yeah.
That's another.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think what the Sixers have been lacking is that dynamic play at that guard spot on both ends of the floor. And I think as great as Ace Bailey's talent is, I think there would be some frustration as far as his desire or intensity to want to compete on that end consistently versus a VJ Edgecombe. You know what I mean?
So I'm going to take it a step further.
Mm.
You're sticking a kid on a team with Paul George,
Mm.
who's hasn't lived up because he's not the Paul George that he once was.
Mm.
A Maxey who's not an alpha but is clearly the best player on the team at this point, and then Embiid.
Mhm.
So, not trying to hedge or backtrack, but to your point, you stick this kid on the floor that's disinterested and not playing both ends of the floor, then you have a major issue.
Who can handle that situation better? Who are you willing to bet on, VJ or Ace? Based off everything we've heard and seen from VJ versus Ace. We don't know, but who would you
I
bet?
like the kid VJ. I
Yeah.
think he's a well-spoken kid and presents himself.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into my Knicks. Mike Brown won the presser, right? Everyone talks about winning I don't care about winning the press conference and all this nonsense. If you handicap the Knicks at this moment in the Eastern Conference, July 9th, are we sitting here saying when it's all said and done, because of the injuries sustained to Indiana and Boston rebuilding, and Milwaukee, obviously you got Giannis that's ticked off because of what happened with Dame. You got Detroit, a young team, Orlando, a young team, Miami, they can't figure it out. Indiana, the Knicks arguably should have beat them in the series. They choked away game 1, they lose in game 6, and Cleveland, 64 wins.
Great regular season team.
Okay. So right now, handicap the Eastern. Are the Knicks, the way it's aligned at this moment, are they built to come out of the East?
Yes, they are built as the East currently constructed, right? You have the main guys back. You have that chemistry together. Bringing in a Jordan Clarkson and Yabusele from the Sixers. I know Sixers fans loved him last year. So having those two additions off the bench, having a guy like Clarkson who, he's been in Utah for a while. I'm not sure how many of your listeners have watched Utah Jazz games, but he's still a valuable player. He still can put up points. Having that guy off the bench, so you're not relying as much on a Jalen Brunson to provide that offensive scoring. I think you guys made some savvy moves in the offseason. I think Mike Brown is a respectable coach. What will make or break this team will be how Karl Anthony Towns and Brunson go in the playoffs. That's just the reality of it, right? I think they're set up to where, yes, they should be competing for an Eastern Conference championship. If they don't, it's an ultimate failure on Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. That's the reality of the situation. If the team is healthy, no excuses, those two guys have to lead the way. It's on those two guys, Q.
Does Brown come in with more pressure knowing this team just fired a coach that took him to the Eastern Conference Finals?
I think there's pressure knowing how the Eastern Conference is set up, right? I think there's more pressure now. Like, okay, Indiana is out the picture. Boston's weaker. Milwaukee is not the Milwaukee that we're used to, right? Cleveland, we know what they're about. We know what to expect from them. Atlanta's unproven. Orlando's still unproven. Detroit is still unproven. What is your excuse? And so I think there's pressure on Cleveland. I think the teams with the most pressure in the Eastern Conference is Cleveland and New York. If those two teams are in the Eastern Conference Finals, you got to make some major changes with that roster.
5:30 on a Wednesday, Woosah Wednesday edition of Middays with Q. Rich Quinones here. We'll take you up to 6, and we're also live on X, YouTube, and Triax57. Get social with us. Jonathan Marshall, WMUR, kind enough to join us, talking a little NBA. So here's my one issue with the hiring of Brown, and I know I'm going to tick off Knick fans because they're going to be like, you can't win with this guy. Just hear me out. I had no problem with them firing Thibodeau. I went on the air after game 1 debacle, and I said, if they lose this series, it's a fireable offense. We know what type of offense he was running, right? The style of offense. We're getting up and down the floor. I'm going to run these guys into the friggin' ground. Brown if you turn around and listen to what he said and the teams that he coached and the type of offenses, the view on basketball has changed over the years, right? So I took away this, Jonathan, that Brown is hinting at a change in style, which I believe, again, he didn't really pinpoint if there's going to be a lineup change, but if he's thinking about switching up a little bit, then that tells me right away a guy like Josh Hart is going to go to the bench. Now, it's purely speculative on my point, and he gave a long-winded answer, kind of like I'm giving a long-winded answer right now. But their offense, per him, is going to be predicated on pace and space. And that's kind of what he ran with other teams when he coached them. And for that, my other point is, who really is going to be your primary ball handler? I mean, does it have to be Brunson? Can't Brunson play off the ball?
It has to be Brunson. I mean, with his ability to create pressure on that defense, create for others, who else on that roster?
But you want the ball to be touched, though. The problem is if I'm taking, okay, I bring it up the floor, and then it's clear out, right? Or give me, or it's ISO.
Right.
Instead of having the big body down on the block and at least let a couple hands touch it. We know he's a great scorer, but as great as he is, I don't think he has the greatest handle. And sometimes he's very turnover prone because he's forcing the issue.
Well, the other question is, Q, how effective is Brunson off the ball?
Well, that's a great counter question. I mean, that's kind
of so some guys are better. They need the ball to be effective.
Yeah, I get it. You're right. You're right. But if you're talking spacing and pacing, then that tells me he might have to play off the ball a little bit.
And which brings another question: if it doesn't work out well, roster questions. Are we making changes? What changes are we making? Who's out of there? Because the coach's philosophy doesn't match up with the roster.
And that's my problem with the hire. That was my problem.
And that problem should go to the front office.
Well, pardon me. I mean, it
seemed like they didn't even have a plan.
That's a Rose. Pardon me again. That's a Rose in a wild. That's a World Wide West. That's Rose. Dolan didn't have the say in this. Come on, let's be honest.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed like they were targeting one name. I think we can guess who that name is. It didn't happen.
Jason Kidd.
They're just throwing darts at the wall, hoping something sticks. And this is you get Mike Brown.
Yeah.
Let's make it work.
Yeah, and you can. It's a good point by the man, right? Duplicate the last two seasons, especially with the new regime. I agree, and the problem is anything less than an Eastern Conference Finals appearance will be a step back, and then you will get the Monday morning quarterbacking. I won't be that guy, but you will get the Monday morning quarterbacking saying, "Why'd you fire Tibbs?" And I'm telling you, without belaboring the point, it was the game one loss. It was the lack of adjustments in the fourth quarter. It was, again, not going to the bench. It was trusting the starters too long. It was also, you have to hold a player like Karl Anthony Towns accountable. How many times was I texting you and my buddies and I'm like, stop shooting threes. I don't want to hear this nonsense. It's a big man's game and they can shoot from beyond the arc. Your game is predicated on the low block. Give me your back to the basket.
That's what I'm. As soon as you guys got Cat, you know my thoughts about Cat.
Yeah, you didn't like.
I'll say it again. The fate of this roster this season will be dependent upon Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. There are question marks with the philosophy versus the roster, how it matches up. But those two guys have to lead the way.
Yeah.
And if they don't, there are serious questions. Is Jalen Brunson a guy that you can build a championship team around? That's a fair question, I think.
I don't think so. And as much as I think Jalen Brunson's a superb player, but I go back a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
The turnovers late in the playoffs, not understanding when to be decisive. Now his confidence grew, and he realized, I'm going to have to score 35, 40, and that's all well and good. But I get it. You had the hot hand, but we've been around basketball a long time. And sometimes you do have to get some spacing on the floor. You just have to. And sometimes you need your big man planning on the low block. So
I agree.
All right, my friend. Well, that's a long. You got a. Are you in the parking lot? That's a long drive.
Driving around Boston is sick work, Q. It's sick. And no matter the time of day, it's just traffic. Boston is one of the worst cities to
I
drive
mean, you
in.
got to be like a guard. You got to the floor. The court
Got
vision.
to weave through. You got to head on the swivel, defensive driving, all those things. We getting it done though. We're getting it
Yeah.
done.
Let me give you some advice though in the future,
Mm,
because you're married now and you have a
yeah,
newborn.
yeah.
You should be the one driving.
No, I usually do drive,
In the
but
back.
she insisted. She
No, no,
she
no, 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 no.
she made sure I
No,
was able
no, no,
to
no, no. It
show up
does
for you,
no,
Q.
no, it does not matter. The segment could have waited. You have to basically mom and baby, let them relax and do their thing. Father, dad jumps in the driver's seat. And I'm not trying to call you out, but I'm calling you out. Lesson be learned. What did I
Listen,
tell you?
the wife made me. She made sure I showed up for you, Q. You should feel flattered.
Listen, I
Not
did.
everybody gets the privilege.
Way to flip the script. Well, you know what? Yeah, I'll kick the coverage on that one. You got to keep her. So I definitely
Thank you,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Listen to this. Well, hold on. They're saying Marshall's wife will not fold on her questioning. Nah, she's tough. That's what we want. We want that. We don't
That's
want anyone
hilarious.
folding under questioning. So, all right, brother. Well, listen. Always appreciate it. Get to where you need to be safe. Give me an update later, will you?
Appreciate you, Q.
All right. There you have it, my guy,
All right,
Jonathan.
you take it easy.
You too, brother. That's great stuff, man. Look at that. He says there he's got to take the baby to the doctors, and he decides, you know what? Let's call up for a couple moments and talk a little NBA. That's my guy. See, that's we call that. What do we call that? That's a good fella. That's a stand-up guy. You might fold under cross under question. I want to go somewhere now. Hold on a second. What do we do with the kids? Do we pull them out? Is this what we do? I want to go somewhere where it's warm. I'm bronchial. If he is proven to be bronchial, we will try to get him someplace warm. Oh man. The Babe in the Woods comment was the best. We listened to those wiretaps. We know you guys were talking cocaine. Don't give me the Babe in the Woods. Don't. You go home, you make nice. You do nice. I'll talk to her. You make everything nice. Won't divorce him. She'll kill him, but she won't divorce him. No. You can't. I can't have this. I can't have him come over. What did he say? What did Robert De Niro say? Commiserating. Is that what he said? I can't have it. You go home. You make nice. You woo her. That's exactly what he said. I can't have that. I can't smooth things over with some fly. I know exactly how to deal with this. I know exactly how to talk to her. Exactly. And then all of a sudden he wakes up in bed, and what happens? He's got a loaded 44 looking right down the barrel of that. Still not better. Again, still great movie, but not better than The Godfather. Oh, by the way, I just saw this little nugget the other night when I was flipping through. I couldn't find anything. I don't know, man. Netflix, I'm trying to find some good series, right? So I don't want to go back and re-binge a lot of the shows, but I did find a gem of a movie on Amazon Prime, which I will tell you before I leave. I wanted to, before we get off there, I wanted to get to Scott earlier today. Q, I know it's a bit early. I did a fantasy football mock draft. Ooh, Bijan Robinson going 1 or 2 overall. Do you believe he's that nice? Have a football itch on a Woosah Wednesday? No. Fire away on a Woosah Wednesday. Why not? Wow. Overall, I mean, I tell you, full disclosure, I used to do a fantasy football segment. There's a couple guys I was thinking about maybe bringing on during the season, and we're still trying to work out logistics and the times that would potentially work for them. You guys will laugh. and my friends will tell you this, never played fantasy football. I'll talk about it like when we have a guest because I want it to be beneficial to you guys. It's on to entertaining. I think last word on sports, if you check out that website, they'll give you some good fantasy football outlooks. I'd be a little surprised. I mean, I would suspect a guy like, when it's Saquon, when do you look at Saquon Barkley, the year he had, or you're thinking about maybe he loses some touches? I mean, they're going to have to run the football. We know that. They're definitely going to have to run the football because you can't trust the quarterback. I'm speaking of, obviously, the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, I don't know, to be quite honest with you. I'm just trying to give you an honest answer. He's a good back. We talked a little bit about the Falcons the other day because of the comments from Kirk Cousins. How he felt kind of like slighted. Robinson, he had a monster season, did he not? The kid ran for almost 1,500 yards. At first, I thought people were looking at that as a questionable draft pick in 2023. But let me rephrase that. I think pundits looked at that pick by the Falcons, and he wasn't a top 10 draft pick. But the kid can play. I mean, he averages close to 4.6 yards a carry. Now, if you believe they're not going to have Penix throw a lot, and they're going to try to run it and work between the tackles, then yeah, draft him. Why not? I mean, why not? The Cousins comments are interesting. He's going to be such a, I think Kirk Cousins will be a gentleman, but those comments leak out. And I believe the beauty of this right now, as crazy as it sounds for Cousins, look, talk if you want, but the first time Michael Penix Jr. starts to struggle a little bit, he's getting benched. I mean, he's getting benched. He didn't play well in his first start against the Giants. He really didn't have to. That game was a blowout. He came back. He looked against Washington, and then smoke and mirrors. He threw for 300 yards against Carolina. In a couple starts. I'm not sold on this kid. I'm not. I wasn't sold on him in college, watching him in Washington. I wasn't sold on Atlanta picking him 8. He wasn't a top 10. I didn't have him on my board. If I had a board as an early quarterback to go in the top 10. So Cousins can sit there and say all he wants. But the reality is this. If they struggle out of the gate offensively and they lose some games, and it's realistic to think the Atlanta Falcons start the season 0-5. I mean, they open up at home against Tampa. That looks like a loss. They go on the road against Minnesota, tough place to play in. That looks like a loss. I would actually tell you, I don't even know if they're going to be favored on the road against Carolina. Then they got Washington, Buffalo, and the 49ers. If this kid struggles, Kirk Cousins is going to be right there. But going back to the original thought, again, I can say this, if you can grab that kid, I think he's definitely a playmaker, is he not? Someone needs to put the Godfather extended cut for TV version. I mean, there are a couple director cuts that are out that there was even the Godfather 2, and then Godfather 3, which a lot of people say, hey, kind of burned the tape, right? I mean, it was horrible acting. But there are some scenes that you would not have saw, like the director's cut. It shows at the time Corleone getting revenge for Apollonia, the girl he married in Italy, for her death. Remember that, the car bomb scene. So interesting nugget. There's a movie that is very underrated. It's called The American. And George Clooney's in it. It's a crime, action, drama. George Clooney is an assassin, and he winds up hiding out in Italy. So without giving the movie away, he does meet someone over in Italy. That actress is actually the daughter of the woman that played Apollonia in The Godfather. How do you like that for a little 7 degrees of Richie Q instead of Kevin Bacon? 5 titles in the last 10 years of the Mount Laurel League in here. 4 of them by yours truly. Is that true? Wow? 5 titles in the last 10 years, and that's a nice little run. Wow. That's is that Dynasty? Is that Dynasty? I think that's Dynasty. And Q say with me, Wusa. Neighbors was a top 10 pick in the mock. Pretty special. I like Malik Neighbors. I do. Oh, hold on a second. Apollonia was easy on the eyes. Yes. Yeah. Oh, that is great. That is great. You're all right with me, Ball 316. You're all right with me. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So Michael says fake news. Wow. So again, this is what I'm saying. Like, I feel as though Middays gets a little controversial. And to be honest, the funny thing is, if you guys haven't noticed, I got some people chiming in right now. Kevin, Tom, Sarge, Matt, all pretty much saying the same thing in context. It seems like Q. It seems like that the Bunker Boy Eagles fan chimed in, tried to get on your skin, and we haven't heard from him since. That's factual. Bunker Boy chimed in, made one comment, said, "Hey, good to see you clean yourself up a little bit on a Wednesday," and then boom, right? That's fake news. Definitely true. Ball will confirm, not to mention 2 more finals appearances. Whoa. 6 in 10 years. That's Dynasty. I will try to do my best to bring on. These guys are tough, man. They're all over the place. They do so many spots, but I will try my best to see if we can hook up. I know John Bueller is not going to join us this Friday. He's on vacation from Fansided, but I'll see if I can get someone to maybe pop on, maybe like on a Wednesday, on a Woosah Wednesday, and we'll do a little fantasy. Apologize, 6 and 10. Wow. Teddy KGB from Rounders could be on the Mount Rushmore of actors. Malkovich? No, come on, stop it. Come on. Not at all. Malkovich, I mean, he's, very good actor. I'm not going to sit there and say Mount Rushmore. We're going to stick him with De Niro, Pacino. Come on. Absolutely not. Now, I'm glad you brought up Rounders, because Ed Norton is a generational actor. If you haven't watched, it's on Amazon Prime, and it is a fantastic movie, The 25th Hour. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. The cast is ridiculous. Ed Norton, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Rosario Dawson, Barry Pepper. Remember him? He was also in 61. He was also in Saving Private Ryan. Brian Cox, fantastic actor. It was unbelievable. The writing in the movie and the way they pay homage to 9/11 in New York. If you haven't seen it, fantastic. The scene, again, if you haven't seen it, I don't want to ruin it for you, but it shows you the depth of character that Norton can get into and take on any role. It's a fantastic movie. I might have to flip that sucker on sometime this week. I'm going through the binge again, right? Because it's a summertime and I'm running out of all my Turkish dramas on Netflix. I started to watch, like I said, I went through the Squid Game. I went through Bet. I went through House of Ninjas. I went through Karma, which was fantastic. By the way, Phil's on top of the Giants. 5-0. Hey, a little long ball going on. Hold on a second. Let's double check here. I mean, Schwarber's feast or famine. No, Schwarber is 0 for Harper actually how about that? Bryce Harper contributing. There's a shocker. You talk about an overrated guy. Still waiting for Harper to make a deep run here with the Sillies. He's only played in 64 games. He's always injured, man. He's been off injured. Unbelievable. Yes, that's right. That scene, by the way, too. Was that right around? That was near the. Well, no, you had the alligator blood scene. And then respect is all you have in the morning. I gotta go in, right? I gotta call you. And then that's when he pointed to what's his name, the guy looking for a little charity, Lester, right? And then obviously, it's Flop the King or Flop the King Nut, however it is. There's a Stallone poker movie no one knows about. Stallone poker movie. What year? Stallone poker movie that no one knows about. It probably had to be a really bad movie. Was it good on Rotten Tomatoes? Because he's made so many movies. I mean, obviously, it wasn't anything in the 70s. It wasn't Fist. It wasn't The Lords of Flatbush. I'm going to say it was probably sometime in the 2000s, right? Maybe sometime in the 2000s. Stallone poker movie. Huh. I don't know. What's it called? I don't know about that one. I don't know. Never a bad time to enjoy Entourage. That's true. The way that game ended last night was the most 10,000 losses ever. I mentioned that in the beginning of the show. That's a horrible loss by the Phillies. How do you lose on an inside the park home run like that? That's bad. Speaking of Netflix, Q, if you had to pick 1 to 2 pro athletes to win Squid Games, who would you choose? Oh my God, that's a fantastic question. Wow. I mean, we're going to the legit Squid Game, right? The life and death Squid Game. Man, I don't know. I can see some athletes, some prima donnas, kind of like, pleading for their life. Especially the red light, green light. Then you got to look for the athleticism and the flexibility. When we're talking about the jump rope, man. Who would go out guns a-blazing? Who would say that, you know what, I'm running towards that fire on Squid Game. Man. Oh, man. You stick a guy like, God rest his soul, Kobe. Because Kobe would do anything to win. Anything. Jordan, anything to win. Anything. Anything. They cheat in the game of jacks if it gave them an edge. I mean, you can't go. Wow, you got to be fleet of foot. You got to be smart. You got to think on. You got to be. You know what? Brady, smart. A lot of things happening. Reading the defenses, understanding the jump rope, understanding red light, green light, knowing how to do those other child games. You got to be quick on your feet. Oh man, put Brady there. Shade. That's the movie. Well, if the Madman says it's horrible, I mean, his taste in movies, to be quite honest, a little suspect. They didn't understand All In that movie. Wasn't there another poker movie with, what was her name? Well, if you want to watch an old school, I mean, Molly's Game was a great movie, by the way. I love Molly's Game. But if you want to really watch an old poker, like movie, a gambling movie. I mean, The Sting was more of a con movie. I still believe that's top 10 all time in just con type of movies. But there's a movie that was in the 70s, I believe. And it was Elliot Gould, who played in The Long Goodbye, who was in the Ocean's 11, who was in MASH. And, oh my God, why is the movie escaping me? And the actor was, the guy that he played with was very, very funny. Oh my God. It was in the 70s. And the name is, it's right there. California Split. California Split. It's an old school movie. It's probably like an hour and a half. Go watch it. Go watch it. Let me see. Rodman in Squid Game? I don't know. California Split, not California Grind, California Round. Come on. Molly's Game was unbelievable. Unbelievable. California Split is a very good movie. And I saw Michael Madsen just died. Yes, I saw that. Bump Bailey. See, people forget Bump Bailey. He was in The Natural. Remember that scene? Right? The catch that almost was. He was a very good actor. And of course, Reservoir Dogs. I was just watching that the other night. They made that on like a shoestring budget, Reservoir Dogs, and it's a classic. Mr. Brown, Mr. White, Mr. Orange, Mr. Pink, Mr. Blonde. Someone told me, I was reading that, I don't know if Tarantino meant for Mr. Blonde and Travolta's character in Pulp Fiction, Vincent, that apparently they were supposed to be brothers. So, let's see. Scott Stevens, yeah, but you got to think. This is life and death, man. This is not, dropping the gloves, getting hit with the puck, taking a slide, taking one for the team. I mean, Jordan, I don't think anything phased you. I'll tell you this: you need someone out there that also has this just wild type of nothing to lose. I'll tell you, you know what? You stick a guy like Brett Favre in Squid, because Favre's going to do anything. I mean, think about it. You need, yes, you have to. Antonio Brown would scare me, because Antonio Brown would say, "Hey, let's partner up," and then all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh, thank God!" And I turn around and then he pushes me off something on the platform, and that would be it. Player 11 done. That's not good. Quick wit, yes, but you're not winning Squid Game if you're psychotic. You're not. If you have the mentality, if you're the opposite of a Woosah Wednesday in Squid Game, you're done. You're done. You will not. Peyton Manning, too slow though. That's the problem. Too slow of feet. Smart, yes. The football acumen, the business acumen, the acumen of understanding. All right, hey man, this is how it's got to go down. I also think Peyton Manning, too nice. Too nice. Yeah, you want him as the lead. You need someone that's wild, a little psychotic, diabolical, but also when it's all said and done, a foxhole guy. A foxhole guy. Ooh. Damon is Born. Yeah, Bourne, John Wick. Jason Bourne. You stick a Tom Cruise in Squid Game, I think he'll be okay. I do. I think he would be okay. I really do. A-Rod, get out, please. Are you kidding me? A-Rod is such a spineless guy. He would be the one trying to cut the deal just to save his hiney. No way. Get out of here. No, you're done. Red light, green light. You know what A-Rod does? He's about to fall and he pushes you, Michael, right in front of red light, green light. You're done. You're done. Eliminate it. Eliminate it. Number 6. No, not at all. All right, gotta start wrapping. I don't know where we went with that one, but excellent stuff. Good stuff from Costco joining us. As you guys mentioned, very good insight and a lot of knowledge and good value. Jonathan Marshall taking a baby, to the doctors and telling me everything seems to be okay and chiming in for a second. Messy Snipes, I can see that. Oh, I love Wesley Snipes. Oh, Seagal. Yeah, but he would be so philosophical and everyone would sit there and by the time he made his point, he would be done. In the movies when the guys go on the rants and they're just long-winded, it takes too much time for the villain or the axe murderer or, in some movies like The Shark or whatever, the monster to come out. And that would happen with Seagal. And by the way, it's the BS Krav Maga. He's not really, a martial artist. We know that. He's fake. He's fake. No one in the movies, no one's defeating him, but a real life fake. All right. We do have to start wrapping it up on a Woosah Wednesday. Check us out on social. Not sure. Might be traveling tomorrow for the fights. If not, we'll be back in the saddle on a Friday edition, What the Frig Friday edition of Middays with Q. Appreciate all our friends over at Triax57. Get social with us as always, Triax57.com, XIG, myself at Rich Q on Q, TikTok Rich Q on the mic. And last word, you guys think it could be a Bruce Lee? Yes, Bruce Lee. We'll end with that. Why not? The master of them all, Bruce Lee. All right, everyone have a good Sports Wednesday. As we like to say, be safe, be sound. We will hopefully talk to you tomorrow. If not, we'll be back in the saddle on Friday on another edition of Middays with Q. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Hasta luego, buen día.